Good evening and welcome to VI Voices. I'm Emile Henderson III along with Clint Ferris, Boyd McFarlane, and Yoki Hanley. We are here tonight as we are continuing our Rocket Voice campaign as we seek to have our political leaders and those who aspire to be our public officials come onto the show so that you can have a better understanding of who they are and so that you can make an informed decision as to whether or not you want to vote for that person or not vote for that person. And tonight we're going to have on the show Gerard James II, who is no stranger to the political scene as he served previously as lieutenant governor, and I believe he was also a senator at one point, and has maintained a full public life, I would think, here in the community. And so he's no stranger to us and should be no stranger to you. But he is running for governor of these Virgin Islands in the 2014 election, and we wanted him to be here tonight so we can get a little bit more information from him as to his positions on certain issues and where he sees the Virgin Islands going. But before we have him on the show, we will start tonight, as we start every show, with our hot topics. And beginning with this issue of that gentleman of the LA Clippers, who have, I don't know his name, I don't really watch basketball. Sterling? Okay, him. And his comments about black people and not wanting them to come to the Clippers game or to pose with his girlfriend. No, until...
His ex-girlfriend.
They broke up?
A long time. She has a lawsuit against him and so on.
She has not claimed to be his girlfriend.
Okay, yeah. Well, at any rate, there's a legal dispute between the two.
It's a confusion kind of thing.
She never, I thought...
No, he probably used to hate it, but it's a confusing kind of thing.
Well, until this weekend when I saw the specials on it, I wasn't aware that he was married. And so he is married, and then he has... I thought she said she was
a love triangle.
Maybe they broke up. But what are your thoughts on what the commissioner did today as a result of the comments that were released in full? It was a 15-minute actual conversation.
Let me say this. I do believe his comments were definitely laced with some level of racism. I think it's overkill on the part of the commissioner, and I'm going to tell you why it's overkill. He was supposed to have been kicked out of the league and been banned for life all the way back with Elgin Baylor, back when he did what he did to Baron Davis and all of those people. This is a private conversation that he had with his, quote-unquote, girlfriend. And it was a private, there was not any public display. Yes, the NBA is just trying to save face because they should have dealt with this gentleman when David Stearns was commissioner. But the league has always been an owners league and a management league, and not too much, and not about the players. Yes, the fans were important, but because the fans. But
wouldn't his comments create what I think would be a hostile work environment for those players who are African American?
But he created a hostile work environment for Elgin Baylor, for Baron Davis. He heckled Baron Davis and the coach when he was a player, during a game situation. An owner creating the young fella described himself as being, not a young fella, but the player at that time described himself as being very psychologically fragile, all because of what occurred. He has been doing these things for years, and when Elgin Baylor brought that suit, he should have been kicked out of basketball a long time. But
don't you find the comments that he made to be those comments that were really insidious and really beyond the scope of having just a regular conversation with someone in private? I think it went way beyond that.
It may have. The only thing is because we live in this age of Facebook, Twitter, TMZ, and the paparazzi. That's the only reason why the NBA is covering its behind right now. But this man was supposed to be dealt with 10 years ago. To me, it's an overkill now.
I wouldn't watch it as an overkill. I mean, I'm not into NBA as I used to be when I was growing up. But if what you're saying is true with that, he had, prior situations with these racist comments or whatnot, I look at it as this being the straw that broke the camel's back. You understand? So they had this whole long record, of him doing and saying all these racist things. So now here comes the most egregious of them all, that was a 15-minute tirade. Where he's also been forcing us, say you can't bring black people. I don't want to see you with no kind of black people because there's this, there's that, whatever. You understand? So they say, well, okay, we tired of you now, so this is how we're going to deal with you. And at the same time, anybody else who, you know, feel like you want to be going down this road, this is what can possibly happen to you.
But what I surprised about is the fact that we surprised that he feel away. And we surprised that he's the only one that feel away. If we think that he's the only one that feel away, he's the only one that does get caught. But if we think that he's the only one that feel away, then we're sadly mistaken. And a lot of them going to continue to feel away because of the fact that they are the one paying the bills. We getting the crumbs. They're the one that hiring the people. They're the one that the owners and the manager of these teams. And until we do for ourselves and bring ourselves to that point where we can manage and own teams, then they're going to continue to look down on us because we always are when he's approaching them for a job, posting them for this.
Do you think though that this situation has opened up the doors for people to start looking at other people and other owners and other teams as to how they're interacting with players?
You mean for other side things to now start to set up?
Well, I don't know about the side things. I'm talking about.
No, because I mean, let's be honest, if it really wasn't for her, and from what all accounts are saying, you know, they are in this big, huge legal dispute, and if it wasn't for somebody feeling jilted, this conversation won't have come out.
And that's
you
the
know?
problem.
So, but what it's going to show, what it's going to show is going to teach those that feel like that to keep them out shut and keep it in the head.
And in professional sports, it's been happening for years. The NFL has a rule that you must interview a black candidate for a coach vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
They interview them. They don't hire them. If a black,
they're only supposed to interview them.
yeah, but think about if Mike Singletary, he was the San Francisco 49ers coach before this guy Harbaugh. He set up this, he built this team that Harbaugh is winning with. He had a bad season, kicked him out. The other fellow that was a coach at Philadelphia, he went to Green Bay. Again, had one losing, kicked him out. So they have a different standard for black coaches and black managers within the league, within professional sports.
In
And
everything.
it's about time we start to bring attention to bear.
Not just sports.
Listen, my point is this. Who make the NFL what the NFL is today? Who make the NBA what the NBA is
players.
today? African people is who do that. That's my position. And until we, African people, come together and do for ourselves, pool our resources, nothing going to change. There's no reason why we can't own our own teams and be manager of our own teams and hire our own people to run it. There's no reason why at this point today and this age, with the amount of money that they're making, but we too much divided. We're not together. We don't think in terms of ownership. We don't think in terms of management.
I think that there are people that are thinking in terms of ownership. But access.
Okay, think in terms of ownership, but they do it what, individually?
No. They're not doing individual. They're trying to pool their resources, but again, it's access.
Well, I think the moral of what we can learn from this whole debacle is if you're gonna have a side chick, get her in check. There needs to be a memo or something.
You hear that, boy?
If you wanna have a side chick,
boy,
Check all the electronic equipment at the door.
side chicks.
Get your side chicks in check. But before, let's segue to something else quickly. The issues going on with St. Thomas Carnival. In the paper today, we saw that the Vernon Police Department indicated or stated that they have crime under control.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first night in the village, someone got killed. On Sunday, there was a massive shooting. The day after, a killing also Harris, and just things going on and on and on. How can we, the police department, come on and honestly say that they have crime under control when it does not appear that St. Thomas Carnival is safe right now?
For 8 years, the police department has had crime under control. For 8 solid years.
So they know what they're doing.
For 8 solid years, this administration has said everything is right in our territory and the economy is doing well.
Country running good.
But you do know in bad economic times we have all of these things taking place in our community.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the police department. And I'm not picking on the police department. Resources. We need to talk about resources. We need to talk about better policing. Ever so often community policing becomes a fad. Prevention becomes a fad. But we need to start to talk about the root of the problem. And the root of the problem isn't the violence at Carnival. It's way deeper than that, and you cannot wait until a month before Carnival to start to run PSAs, to start to deter criminal activity and violence at Carnival.
But everybody always talking about the root of the problem. What's the root of the problem?
Hey, the root of the problem is socioeconomic. It's again
Education.
It's education. It's all about all of these factors that are impacting families. When families have to leave children at home unattended, and when families have to sacrifice going to church to go out and make bread, all of those things are impacting what we're dealing with right now.
But we'll find out, whether or not we can have some changes coming in 2014 and beyond, as we have Gerard James here with us tonight. And I'm sure that's something we'll pose to him, this issue regarding crime.
Maybe Undertaker can bury crime.
Or maybe he can. We'll be back in a moment. Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. We have with us now Gerard James II, a gubernatorial candidate for the 2014 election. Welcome to VI Voices.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is not your first time on VI Voices, actually. You've been here before as president of the Constitutional Convention.
That is correct.
And so you weren't running for anything, so it was a kind of a little different interview at that point. So, this will be a little bit more different.
All interviews are the same.
As we throw questions. Well, these two here in particular are a little rough. So I'll let you know ahead of time. She's rougher than them.
That's okay.
And I try to be the buffer of everybody sometimes. But I want to give you a chance to tell our audience a little bit of who you are. If, in the event, the remote event that there's people who don't know who you are, why are you running for office? This is not your first time running for governor, but why are you doing it again this term? And what do you think you can bring to the people of the Virgin Islands?
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gerard James II. I'm a small business owner here in the island of St. Croix. I established my business in 1984. It's now been 30 years. Owner of James Memorial Funeral Home. I've been providing service here to the residents of St. Croix and abroad, giving them funeral services. And one of the things that I notice is that I feel the plight of the people. I know how it is economically, and it's very hard when individuals come to my funeral home to get service and they don't have money to pay for the service. And we actually go ahead and we give them that service and wait for some payment to come in afterwards. That is helping, and that is what we need to do here within our community. But I was a senator before, I was lieutenant governor, and I feel that it needs a new view, a new outlook. Our fabric is really deteriorating. Our economic base is falling out at the bottom. People are not paying their taxes. Businesses are closing. People are getting shot. You talked about that earlier. And it seems as though every time anyone gets shot, in this civil community that we live in, I guess it's all right, because you never hear anyone comes out and say anything about it. It seems as though that we can just go and pop someone off and it's just good, just call it statistics, and so it's supposed to be. But that's not the way to do it. We have problems here, crime, we have health care problems. We have individuals traveling to the United States to get services. Services that should be rendered right here in the Virgin Islands, in St. Croix, in St. Thomas. In particular, cardiology here in St. Croix. Cardiology should be #1 in the Caribbean. In St. Thomas, in terms of cancer, St. Thomas should be #1 in the Caribbean. So every time someone leaves the island and go abroad, statistically, whatever state that they go to, that's recorded in that particular state. We don't get any benefit from that. So for example, if the federal government is going to give us some funds, we will not receive anything from that. Why? Because our funds will be diminished. Why? Because that individual, when they travel off island, the money goes off island. They're recorded in that state as having what? What's the percentage in your state of heart attacks? They added to that. What's the percentage of your state of having cervical cancer? They added to that. So there are a lot of things that needs to be done and done in the right way. And I think that I can bring that outlook, and I'm one person only, but I'm one person that listens and pays attention to the cry of the people. The people needs help, and they need help from a person like me, someone who you don't have to worry about. You can pass me in the street. I will stop and I'll talk to any one of you. You don't have to worry about that. I'm a people's person.
Now, as you know, in our Hot Topics segment, we were talking about crime as it was pertaining to what was going on in St. Thomas at the Carnival. And it's not limited to what's happening in St. Thomas. We're talking about crime in the entire Virgin Islands. How do you perceive that you're going to have a plan to deal with the issue of how we attack crime?
First of all, we need to really look at crime holistically. As the last commissioner was here, Commissioner White, he left. You know why he left? Because it's FFL. Friends, family, and lovers. That's who you have in the police department. Because of that, you know what happens, right? Everyone joins together, so you do something wrong, they don't say anything to you because you're a friend, your family, your lover. It shouldn't be like that.
me
We
write
need
that down.
professional individuals. We need professional individuals to run our organization, and we need people who know our culture and know our people. So we have people who are well trained here, but where they're working. I did a service for a gentleman the other day. He came back here because his dad died. He is now one of the big sheriffs in Orlando and doing quite well. And as a matter of fact, he trains our officers when they travel to Florida. Why can't we have individuals who went to school here, studied here, know our culture, come back here and give us that professional training? We have individuals out there, a lot of young people like yourself, Attorney Henderson, like yourself just as well. I want to really bring a mass of young natives who have the talent, who have the education, who knows exactly what to do and been given that service abroad. We need it here in our territory.
Now, in tangent with the issue of crime, the issue of public corruption is also, I think, related to the crime spree. As there's no secret, I do criminal defense, and you know, oftentimes I see a lot of these young men who are in court and or not in court, or I see them as I'm walking in the street and they scream out my name, Attorney Henderson. I ask them certain questions, and you know, one thing that they always say is they do it, and so as long as they're doing it, why can't we do it?
Well, you know who they're
That's
pointing
in-
the
right,
finger
of course, and in
At the authority.
At the authority.
Exactly.
And so, what it will be your stance on public corruption? I mean, I know the good answer is I'm going to eradicate it and get it out. Everybody will say that. But I mean, seriously, as to having our public officials who are blatantly violating the law, who have gotten us, in my view, into the position that we are currently in at this time, how are you going to deal with the issues of public corruption in your administration?
I will set the stage. It doesn't matter who you are. Once you do the crime, you would serve the time. It's no problem. Whether you're the commissioner, whether you're the police chief, it doesn't matter. You have to make sure that individuals are held accountable. And that hasn't been done. While I was in the Turnbull administration, I had an opportunity to travel because they wanted to sell WAPA. I was totally against the sale of WAPA. When I went to Atlanta, what did they pose to me? Bribes. I'm not a man who accepts bribes. I have a conscience. I have character. So they came to the wrong person. So we need individuals like myself who will cut the cheese right down the middle. The bad, the good. There's no in between. Like everybody says, it's a gray line. In my life, there's never a gray line. You're either deceased or you're alive. You ever see a gray line between that? Okay.
Mr. James,
Yes, sir.
bold leadership. This is what the Virgin Islands need, because if you're gonna transform the police department and transform the whole face of government, you must be willing to put into place certain things. One of the things is education. Last person that sat here, we asked them about putting governance in the hands of the board and letting the board run the school. Is that something that you are willing to do, and how would that take place within your administration?
You know, during my tenure in the Senate, we used to have a joke about that because my good friend, who I was the sub-chair with, the vice chair in health committee, was former Senator Lauren Berry, who's now deceased. And she used to say, you know, that Board of Education is like a toothless tiger. Well, we need to give it the right to do what it's there for. We can't have an entity occupying space, using public funds, and not being able to make changes. That will never happen under my administration. So they will be given, the rules have already been promulgated, and they know what they have to do. So if we need to have changes to it, we have a good attorney here, we'll go ahead, we'll make the changes.
No,
The question I have is the changes. You talk about making a change. What kind of changes? For example?
Well, you want to give the board the authority to do its board's duties.
Right. And bring forward.
They have been overseen, or I should say, not really overseen, but overrun by the commissioner, by the superintendent. And the superintendent, for some reason, would put a scare in them. You can't put a scare in the board. It's an entity there to put you in check and balances.
Right.
And I can't see
Well,
how...
the truth is that the superintendent has been operating as the commissioner of education.
But the
And
superintendent is
as
not
though-
the commissioner of
well, I
education.
completely agree with you, but that goes back to the issue of people not understanding their roles.
Thank you. Thank you.
And disclaimer,
And-
I represent the
and
AFT.
individuals not pulling them up.
Let me do the next disclaimer. I represent the AFT. So,
Well, I represent myself.
well, very good. And I'm saying that because I have to deal constantly with the Department of Education as it comes to our teachers. And I have, in all the years I've been representing the AFT, I have not had to constantly be writing letters or going to arbitrations or going to grievance issues as I've had to do in this administration, dealing with the superintendents that I've had to deal with. Never have I had to do all of that. And it's primarily because there has been no checks and balance or understanding of the role of what the superintendent is in a school structure. And then you have the Commissioner of Education over here, you have the Board of Education over here, and then they're at odds with each other, and there's like no direction. And so there needs to be some clarity as to how we're going to ensure that the Board of Education actually does what they're supposed to do, which is run, in my view, run the education department.
But besides that, we need to make decisions. Nobody's making a decision. You have people going to arbitration. You have them out of arbitration for 2 years, 3 years, and it keeps running. How long? Suppose the person dies, then you win. Come on. Give that person that equal due rights that is deserved to them so that they can be treated the way it ought to be done. We'll have that done under my administration.
Good.
But doesn't that go back to what you were saying before? You made mention with corruption, and let me backtrack. Not with corruption so much, but as people doing what they're supposed to do. And as governor, you're the one nominating the commissioners and so forth to come and run the different departments. So wouldn't that really, in essence, saying that the buck stops with you? So that if there you have a commissioner, for instance, within the police department, or even let's say education commissioner is not doing the job and we're allowing the superintendent to run as commissioner. You as governor, Mr. or Mrs. Commissioner of Education, pull up your employee or you go home.
You're talking to the right person because that's the way I operate. I put my foot down. And I don't have any gripes with anybody. I'll tell you, listen, I'm very happy to have you here, but your services are no longer necessary. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll let someone else come and do it. Wonderful.
When there, John, that you may hear that about you, that you've been a senator, you've been a lieutenant governor, you've been president of the Fifth Constitutional Convention, and then you hear same old, because you've been a part of the same political machinery that has brought us to this present state and has us mired in this despair that we are in. How can the voters actually say that you are different than what's been there the past 8 and what has been there maybe for the 8 years before and beyond that?
My time at the Senate, my time as lieutenant governor, as I tell people now, I've been vindicated. I was placed and marred as though I was the bad guy as a lieutenant governor to Governor Turnbull. The people know now, thank God I lived long enough. They know now that he was never the bad guy. Okay, yes, I was part of that administration. But what I did, I took a stand. I left. I left because things weren't going right. You have to take a stand. But my stand was, oh, he's a bad guy. He's not cooperating, so to speak. I don't cooperate to ignorance and when people are doing wrong things. I am not going to be part of that. Never.
Sorry. You made mention before when you ran the last time, and you were running against the young. You said that you're standing up for against corruption
I have
and whatnot.
clean hands. They're still clean.
Hold on, let me finish.
Still clean.
Let me finish. And you said that how, we needed to put you in because you called the current governor corrupt and we needed a change. You lost in the primary, but yet you turn around and threw your full support behind this very same governor that you called corrupt.
Yes, I did, and I'll tell you why I did. because I'm a Democrat. I joined the Democratic Party when I was 18 years of age. And just like any party that anyone join, you join them because you like its principles, you like the bylaws and everything that they stand for. If you're a Republican, you'll stand for Republican. Hold on, let me finish. You asked a question.
Go ahead.
You asked a question. If they're going to blame me because I called out to the others, such as Fonzie Donassau, who's running for governor now, and Mr. Bryan, who also ran, they did not come out and actually endorse the governor. So I call them, they were actually using the Democratic Party for their convenience. You notice one thing, whenever, and I'll go all the way back, Mr. O'Brien been with the party and he's received things from back in Wang Louis time. He's always been in government all the way up. I'll tell you what happened to me when I was lieutenant governor. I was lieutenant governor, and the first month they said, oh, he doesn't even understand the role and it's getting to his head. But I'll tell you what happened. I tried to see the governor on occasions, and every time I go to see the governor, I was sitting there with the governor, Mr. Rudolph Krieger, who is now deceased, Joel Malloy, Mr. Jimmy O'Brien, and the governor. And I had to one time tell the governor, can I just have a minute to speak with you in private? And he said, well, you know, you could go ahead and tell. I said, Governor, when the banner was placed for the Democratic Party, it didn't say Turnbull O'Brien. It didn't say Turnbull Krieger. It didn't say Turnbull Malloy. It said Turnbull James. Give James the respect that is due, and let me sit here as Lieutenant Governor and talk to you.
Can I do a quick follow-up? Let me do a quick follow-up. Because the reason why I asked that, because now you're saying that, you know, you left the Turnbull James administration because of similar situations, you know, and your response basically is telling me that regardless of corruption or whatnot, that you're going to toe the party line regardless of what, because it just seems, you know, for lack of a better word, disingenuous.
No, it's not.
Hold on, to
No,
come
it's
out and say, you know, that you love the people so much. This person is corrupt. He is no good for the people, and he's just causing us to be in more harm. And even though, yes, and I mean, it was disappointing and saddening when you did lose in the primary, to turn around and throw your full support behind somebody that you on every single corner said was corrupt. It's confusing, and I still haven't heard you address that. I'm hearing you say that. I'm hearing you saying that because you are a Democrat.
You better believe it.
But
Didn't Hillary go back up behind of Obama?
So because you're a Democrat, you're then now supporting the corruption that you were speaking
Didn't
against
Paul,
before?
as a Republican, support Romney?
Because you are the Democrat. That means you're
you know, I don't
supporting
understand.
the
You know,
corruption.
and I'm coming back to that. I'm coming back to that. Okay.
Okay, let me bring some
But-
order. Wait a
but-
minute. Wait.
Bring order.
Yeah, let me bring some order here. Yeah. My
Well, I
neck
have to give you
my
respect.
neck
You're
is
in charge.
hurting from going
You're in
left
charge.
back and
You're
forth.
in charge.
Let me see if I understand what it is you're saying, so that I can make sure that our viewers get this. I didn't get from his response or from your response that you were supporting corruption.
Exactly.
I got from your correct me if I'm wrong. I got from your
Exactly.
response that if you're in a party, whether you like it or not, the people of your party voted for this person to be your nominee. And so if you're in the party, then you kind of have to go along with whoever the nominee is. Not that you go along with the policies that they have, but that you go along with the tenets of the Democratic Party.
Exactly.
Now, disclaimer number
Exactly.
3. I am
You
a
got another
Democrat.
disclaimer as well.
You have to have a lot because I'm a Democrat, and I will be
Wonderful.
very honest, I did not
Wonderful.
support the governor, and everybody knows that.
I want you to support me, though.
Okay. I didn't support the governor. We all know that. But my lack of support for him was a result of policies. But I believe in the Democratic Party tenets.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody act the way that they should in our party? Absolutely not. I don't support that kind of conduct, but I do support the tenets of my party. And that's what I understood you to
That's
say.
what I said. And
Well,
I
that's
wanted
what
to
I wanna make sure
tell, I
that's
wanted to
what
tell
I
Ms.
understood.
Hanley one other issue. My one vote didn't get John D. Young voted in. Everybody that voted for him got him voted. Okay? So
But
my
everybody ain't
support.
claiming they vote for you though.
No, but
What?
why you gonna claim that?
I don't know.
Answer.
but
What?
everybody
I know
ain't
You
claiming
have
it.
people sitting right here who voted for him, and
I need to find. I need to find
No.
one. I need to
I
find
like how you
one.
watch
I need
me.
to find
I
one.
like how you watch me. You know why? Because people are watching your face and say, "No, I vote for you." And when they turn out, they say, "Vote for you." I'm gonna vote for you.
I need to find one person that's going to admit that they voted.
I voted for him.
Okay.
I
Well,
voted for him.
that's the one person at the table then that voted for the
Let me
young.
say this.
No, don't say that. Because
I know I didn't vote. I know I
are you
voted for
honest
him.
with me?
I know I
Mr.
vote
James,
for him.
Yes, sir.
trust me. I did not vote for John Percy de Young Jr. I'm a card carrying member with a sticker on my card that says MAP. And that's where I went. MAPPP.
Okay.
I was like,
That's where I
okay.
went.
Well, that's good.
But listen to me, and I'm a Democrat.
That's
and
good.
philosophically, I disagreed with John de Young. And along with Ms. Hanley, I was very much disheartened when you stood up on that podium and raised John de Young's hand, because you two were philosophically in disagreement with John de Young. I do understand you're a good Democrat.
No. It
But-
goes beyond that.
No, but
It goes beyond
no, but
that.
think about it. When does it come be about the Virgin Islands people? And when do we say it's not about the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party has led us astray in the Virgin Islands. This is the same Democratic Party that has Celestina White as an active participant when he was the independent. This is the same Democratic Party that continues to side with non-Democratic senators to push agendas across. This is the same Democratic Party who kept Democrats who were loyal to the party from being active in government. So I cannot say I'm in total agreement with your position.
Yeah,
I
but
would
I
may
didn't-
respect it.
I didn't do what you just said.
No, I didn't say you,
Oh,
but
okay.
I said you cannot be in support of a party
Okay.
that continuously keep the people under their feet,
And
and
this-
that's a problem.
And this is the same show that has to take.
But
a
I'm
quick
going to
break.
change that when I become governor. And I will bring all of you under my fold and treat you equally.
And this is the same show that has to take a quick break
Amen.
before Nikki kills me. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. We are still here with Gerard James II, a gubernatorial candidate for the 2014 election, and we were talking very spirited on a lot of other things, and we're going to kind of segue into a different discussion at this time. Marijuana. And so,
Yeah.
Yoki has asked that question to everyone that has been here, and so...
And that will be my number one question to ask, because Emile made a good point in terms of the penal code and why our prisons are so overcrowded. So my question is, are you in favor of decriminalization or legalization, and why or why not?
I'm in favor of decriminalization in terms of giving one a misdemeanor rather than giving them a felony for any type of marijuana. And I think that would reduce, because you have individuals down there in our correctional facility that really and truly should not be there. I feel that you can give me, let's use the 1, 2, 3 and you're out. If you find me with something the first time, you give me a citation. The second time, the same thing. The third, then you're out. That will decriminalize it to a degree, and I feel it should be more like a misdemeanor. Now, a lot of individuals say,
Well, that would still be a crime, though.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean... So you,
but it wouldn't be like the way it's being done right now.
But
You know,
let's
it's much
make
different.
sure that the audience understands the difference between decriminalization and legalization. If you legalize marijuana, it's no longer a crime.
Right.
Period. Okay, it's like alcohol.
Right.
Okay, you could buy it if you want to. If you're going to decriminalize it, what you're doing is you're saying you are regulating the use of how you do that. So it can be a civil penalty.
That's what
It
I'm
could be a
talking about.
fine. So you're saying that you're more in favor of decriminalization of marijuana
Yes,
as opposed to the legalization of marijuana.
that is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. That's what I was saying.
Mr.
Okay.
That is correct.
Honestly,
And you have to look at it, there are people in Colorado now who just actually died from substances that are made with marijuana byproducts. And let me just finish. You know, there's always a negative or a disadvantage or advantage on both sides. So you want to get pretty much the middle.
Correct.
Now, monies are coming in to Colorado and other places right now, but they're having a great problem with crime. Crime is increasing.
But
Because of marijuana? Because
They have statistics to show that it's
Yes,
a
they do.
direct
Yes, they do.
correlation.
Because
The-
you know, the thing about it is I don't smoke marijuana, and I have no intentions of doing it. But I don't think the marijuana in its natural state is the issue. The problem is when people mix it with things that creates a bigger problem
That's
for
what
that.
I was just saying.
And so if that's what's happening in Colorado,
They mix with candies and different things, and they had like 3 or 5 deaths just last week. From
Candies,
that.
but then
laced with
that's-
something else,
Right,
though.
it's laced with something else. So
I
it's
really
an-
don't know, but
because
again,
marijuana in its
the
pure
authorities
state-
are trying to find out exactly what it is. And again, I don't like to rush into anything. I like to study it and study it well, rather than I know that we go and we make something happen, and we get a real slap in the face.
Well, nobody's
from it.
saying not to study it, but I
Yeah.
mean, really and truly, marijuana, you have the two components of it, which is the THC and the CBD, which is a cannabinoid. And I mean, you have documented scientific proof to show where the marijuana in its pure state, you know, as a bush, whether you eat it, drink it, however, does not kill. No, it's, sorry,
Okay.
you know, but it is what you're mixing it in with, which is not a marijuana byproduct. So that, saying that is not correct, because it's not a marijuana byproduct. It's what you're mixing it with. So it becomes something that's totally different.
But Mr.
I
James,
understand.
Mr. James, our argument here, my argument here for marijuana isn't a feel-good argument, light up and burn down and smoke down the place kind of argument. It's an argument that's about a generation is on the brink of being lost because of marijuana, because the fact of we criminalizing marijuana, and that's usually we say marijuana is a gateway drug. To me, a marijuana offense is a gateway to a whole litany of problems, and even our children going into to being offenders repeatedly. When do we remove marijuana from this equation and say we're going to legalize it because it's a plant, and let people utilize it for their own personal use, and then we'll start to then focus on the other problem that's really ailing us, those drugs like cocaine and all those stuff, and we can put other resources
but
the
even
way it's
aside
supposed to
from
be done.
cocaine, drugs as the meth, crystal meth, and those things that really harm. But if you look at our scales and how we do our penalties, marijuana is the one that everybody focuses on, and where people are getting a lot of time in jail. But we look at those who are using meth, those who are using cocaine or cocaine, as people who have an illness. But we don't look at people who smoke marijuana as having an illness. We find it to just look at as being derelicts of our community who needs to be thrown into Golden Grove and sit there for a while.
Well, I don't want to see that happen, and that's why I said, answering to Ms. Hanley, to decriminalize it and make sure that it's more as a misdemeanor. You give warnings rather than just give them a harsher penalty. And I don't want to see that happen, because then you only burdening the correctional facility with more individuals that they have to take care of that rightfully now they can't handle.
Correct.
And I see what you're saying in terms of the marijuana being mixed or substitutions of marijuana. And you got to take that into consideration as well, once you legalize it or decriminalize it, those who intend to make money off of it. They're going to do anything to make the money. So you got to keep in mind the crime aspect of it too. And I think that's what you were referring to.
But what you want to be
Exactly.
careful, see, but what you want to be careful though with, so we're not confusing, and I think I understand what Yoki is saying. When people take marijuana and they add things to it, it's not
Not marijuana
marijuana
anymore.
And,
It's
and
something
so I
else.
think people are mixing up.
But it's marketed as such.
Yeah, but that can remain illegal.
Exactly.
Because it is not marijuana. And so to the extent that you're saying you're going to decriminalize marijuana in its natural state, that's one thing. If you want to maintain, if you alter the natural state of the marijuana, that remains illegal,
Right.
then that's fine.
Right.
Because then you're not putting out marijuana. It's not marijuana anymore.
It's
And I
something else.
believe
It's a
that
different product.
when you change the makeup of natural marijuana, I believe that is illegal and should remain illegal
Correct.
in our community.
They don't
But
listen to it.
what happens is we have a lot of young people who are smoking marijuana for themselves. They ain't want to give to nobody else. They want it for themselves,
Yep.
and they smoking it for themselves. But we pick them up. They have no money to get a lawyer. They own no property. They have no money to pay bail. So they end up sitting in Golden Grove.
Shouldn't be.
When the Attorney General knows full well he is not sending off a roach of marijuana to be tested to make sure it's to make sure that it's actually marijuana, which is a requirement under the law before you can prosecute them. So they sat there for 8 months, longer than the sentence allows, and then you turn around and say, oh, but anyway, we'll just go ahead and dismiss it now. After 8 months of their lives have been out there, they come out, they have an arrest record, and they can't work anywhere. Because nobody's going to hire. Now, you don't have that problem, because you've hired people from all walks of
I was
life.
going to just tell you that.
But other employers will do that. They'll look for an arrest and say,
Be more specific. Let them know who I hire.
well, I won't say that. You can say that.
Yeah.
You can say who you hire.
I have hired individuals who have been incarcerated for over 30 years into my business. You have to be able to give people a chance. Now, after I hired them, then the individual looked at them and said, oh, well, you could have come and worked for me. When?
Right.
Come on. Give people a chance. You're supposed to be able to mold people to be accepted back into society. And when they come back out, they need a venue. They need something to do. They need money. They need to make a dollar. They need to support themselves. So how do they do that? If somebody within our community don't take that opportunity and give them a job.
So are you going to
Apart-
incentivize businesses to do just that? Just like how after we have with the recession,
Most definitely, because
a lot of businesses got tax breaks from hiring people who were recently laid off. So are you willing to implement tax breaks or whatever else for businesses that hire felons? And
Well,
if they hire felons, depending on how long they're
I
in,
didn't
they
say
get
I'm
more
going to
tax break?
implement tax breaks, because one of the problems that we have right now is that we have people not paying their fair share. And I keep saying that. I've been in business for 30 years. All of my taxes are paid. What they did, and I never forget, last year, I was audited personally and business. And when I look and I see all these people here who are running business and not paying their fair share, I feel very bad. I feel like I'm being singled out. Why? I always ask the question. My thing is this: if you can't pay your fair share, then make a plan and pay a portion. That's what you need to do. And that's what I said, our tax base is being eroded because the people who are doing business are not paying their fair share. That's important. And then the point fingers, and I'm not going to point any fingers, I'm just saying, let us as a body do what is right, and they will see a difference in revenues in the government. They will see a great difference. I can guarantee that.
But let me go back, because I just want to get an answer, because you said you would incentivize businesses. I'm sorry, Boyd. You said you would incentivize businesses for hiring felons. If you're not going to do it by tax breaks, how do you plan to do it? I mean, I'm a small business owner. So how would you convince me as a business owner? Not to say that I would, that
I will be telling you.
let me finish. Not to say that I would never not give a ex-felon a chance. But if I were that hard-nosed, how would you convince me as a small business owner to turn around and hire a felon?
I would convince you by saying simply one thing. You could have been in that position. So you need to really be more sensitive and understand that when people, and most of them commit crimes, they pay the time. So now they're out, they are to be able to be accepted back into our society. Do we stand off and push them back rather than accept them? I say no, let's accept them.
But partly though, we do have people that come out of Golden Grove who are not fully rehabilitated. Meaning they come out,
If
but
at
they
all.
can't really do anything. They have no education. They
But
have
you
no
have-
real certification in anything.
So then why should I hire them?
So it's not
But
so
you
much
have
why
to
would
make
hire
that
them.
judgment.
It's not so much why you would hire them, but
You
it's
have to
how
make that
can you?
judgment.
Because this is going to bring me to the other question I have with you is our Department of Labor has been an utter failure because we don't have a community that is prepared for jobs to come here. We all talk about wanting jobs and bring people here, but we don't have a skilled labor force.
You know what I
And
always
so
remember?
what are you going to do to ensure that we have a Commissioner of Labor and a Department of Labor that will create a skilled workforce that when businesses come here, when you bring businesses here, they can genuinely hire the locals to work, not just as housekeepers, but as people who want to make real money in their businesses, without having to say, well, we can't find anybody here, so we have to bring people into work.
You know, I'm totally against when you're going to say you're going to bring people into work, because I want to see the Department of Labor working with our schools. You have the individuals in the school working and they're gaining a skill: mason, carpentry, electrician, plumbing, welding, you name it. That's the workforce that you start with. You don't have to go outside.
Yeah, but it's
Create
not
it.
happening, is what I'm trying to say
But
to you.
we will create it.
So
We will
how are you
create
going
it.
to ensure that
There have
that
to be a mutual
happens?
bond with the Department of Labor and the Department of Education, so that they can actually have all of that within the curriculum, so that it can work where people are being trained in a skill position to come out and fulfill whatever duties or jobs are available.
So you're going to boost up the vocational board then?
Most definitely.
They
Yes.
exist?
Mr. James,
Okay,
I don't think
well,
they
that's
do.
why I asked the
Mr.
question.
James, you spoke about, after you spoke about bringing young people here, young native people here, or bring them back to give back to the community, to somehow assist or help in our current situation. What's the incentive you intend to use to do so?
Most of the people who
Keep
are
in mind now, sorry to cut you off, but keep in mind, a lot of these people who are professional people are making well into the six figures. So what's the incentive you're going to use to bring them back here to make next to nothing if the government then in dire financial situation that is in now?
It's really not about what they're making, it's where their heart is. We have a lot of people out there that their heart is here in the Virgin Islands. They have a passion. They want to help. I'll tell you something. I know of individuals who have reached out to our government asking to come and do certain things and were turned down. I'm not going to turn anyone down. I want them to come. I want to encourage them to come. And I will send that clarion call out, ask our youngsters, as you said, six figures, it even go way beyond that. And they'll come and make contributions.
Okay, but wait.
But what
No,
about
wait.
those that are
No,
here?
wait. See, I have a problem with that, a little problem with that.
All right.
While I appreciate that people should be paid for what they've worked hard for in their education and their expertise, right? I believe that people need to understand what public service is.
That's right.
If you believe in proper public service, you understand that you cannot make the kind of money you would make if you're in private practice.
But that's not what I said.
No, that's not what you said.
Oh, don't get me
I
wrong.
want everybody to
Yeah.
understand
Oh, okay.
that
Okay.
public service is what it is. You go there to make public service. If I were to leave my law firm because I want to go and work in public service, I understand that I can't make the kind of money in public service that I'm going to be making in private service. The problem we have here is we have too many people wanting to go to public service to make private sector money.
That's right.
And they're not qualified to do so. Number one. And two, the government has overextended itself in paying these ridiculous salaries for public service. So either you want to help the public and make what public servants make, or you don't want to help the public. And if you want to make a lot of money, then stay where you are in private service and consult with whoever is in public service.
So,
Okay.
then,
But
what's the incentive is my question.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that these individuals will actually come and give.
Okay.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
individuals that you put the clarion call to, they're going to come and give because of their love for the Virgin Islands?
You have a lot of
That's
people.
what it
Sure,
should
they're
be.
passionate.
That's what it should be.
It should.
But
My
a lot
point
of them
is it
not going
should
to
be
give
like
up
that.
their, what,
It
couple
should-
$100,000
But what about
a year
those-
job.
They're
them
not
do that.
leaving their positions.
But what about those that are
They're
here?
not. No, don't get me wrong. They're not leaving their position. I'm saying, when you mention six figures, I said it goes beyond. There are individuals out there that will actually come and give their expertise and other things without taking a dollar.
Okay, but
There are people like that.
But Mr. James,
Yes, sir.
now I'm more concerned about what about those persons that are here, and what about paying those persons that are here a fair wage? Because if you think about it, you come in the government, you're working as a supervisor, a director, and you're paying $48,000. You came in at that salary in 2006. Now it's the year 2014. You still have yet to see a raise. Gasoline is at $4.29.
And going up.
Bread is at $4.89. Milk, car count, a bag of wholesome bread is at $4.89.
And some of them is at 5 and
Now,
change.
and all of those have not incrementally increased. They've gone up
Exponentially.
considerably. You're talking 25-30% increase over the last 2 to 3 years. Your salary have not moved 1 penny. What about paying those persons who have sweat and invested here a fair wage so they can live comfortably without having to get up and move here at 45 and 50?
First of all, we need individuals to know what their job specs are, number one. Number two, we need to evaluate people's work performance. I ain't gonna pay you because you look like you look, or you think you know what you're doing. I also want people. Look,
you're fried fish.
let me tell you what happened to me the other day, and you know I get very upset about it. All right, you have people working in the government. I go and do jobs every day. You know what a government employee told my employee? They come in with this stupidness again. No, the only thing she needs to do is fulfill the paperwork. Let us go ahead and do what we have to do. But we come in with this stupidness. So where is your customer service? And that individual, and I ain't gonna call no name, but people like that, because I believe people are to be gainfully employed, but also productive within their job.
And let me say, Mr. James, I agree with all of that. But you know, at the end of the day, yes, the government hires somebody to do a job. And there's a thing called paying people what they're worth. Ever so often, we know there's inflation and cost of living does increase. When do you allow salaries to increase? Yes, merit is absent and we need merit back. But when do we start to put a set system that every 3 to 5 years we put a cost of living increase to people's salary, at least the basic. And then when we have the balls to start to introduce a merit system, then we do so.
We have a merit
but
system.
they don't
Nobody
apply
follows
it. No, but yes, nobody applies
merit
it.
That's
system.
the
But,
FFL.
and then we leave it to
Nobody follows it because we have enablers.
Correct.
And enablers allow certain things to happen.
Correct.
And so we have to blame the enablers for where we are. Because they know what they were doing was wrong.
Correct.
And they allow all of these things to happen to be wrong. That's what's going on. And all that's going to happen in 2014 is the enablers going to find a new crown prince or a new crown princess to hop onto and hoping that they'll
Not under
allow
my
them.
administration.
I ain't saying you.
Not under
I'm
my
just saying
administration.
that that's what happens. Enablers just figure out who they're enabling now can't be governor again. So they'll just pop on to the next person who they believe is going to assist them to continue to do the nonsense that they've been doing over this time. But we have merit systems. The issue is whether or not you are going to be able to go into government house and do exactly what you're supposed to do. In other words, are you prepared to be the governor, make decisions that's going to make you governor once?
It doesn't matter. Sure.
Right. That's,
sure.
And
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
my
if you don't have that gumption, that fight to do the right thing, then you shouldn't be in this seat.
No, but think about it. Do you know what Emile says? The most productive governor that we're going to have stands a chance of only being a governor for one term. And are we willing to sacrifice that?
Brother, when they see my work, they're going to let me go another time.
But I mean, I agree with you. I mean, if you're doing good work, hopefully people will do it again. And that, in other words, it'll be, okay, great, I get to be governor again. But I don't want to have a person going into office, and as they go into office, their immediate thought process is, I got to prepare because I need to get reelected.
Correct.
That's the problems that we've been having when
And
people go
then
into
we
office. So when I say you have to be prepared to be the governor for a term, it means that you're going to have to make certain decisions that people just won't like.
That's what I was just telling. I just explained it. And I respect what you were saying about pay. But there's certain criteria that has to be met. And as I brought that instant,
And one of the criteria is not the lady who's frying fish cannot be the commissioner of something.
But even
if she's not prepared to do it.
But even aside from that,
but I agree with you. I agree with
the jobs that you give.
How would the person frying the fish? Furthermore, I ain't gonna have no fish fry. I ain't gonna have no jump up thing. No. I'm telling you, this is serious times.
You could have them. I ain't got a problem with fish fries.
You know what I'm noticing?
I don't have a problem with fish fries. I don't have a problem with jump ups. You can have them. I don't have a problem with none of those things, you know. The problem I have is the expectations that people have that because you do something, I'm entitled to this job that I'm not qualified to do. And people turn around and place people in jobs they know full well they're not qualified to do because they fried fish. And I just need to make sure, for me, that you understand that when you go there, that you thank them for all that they've done.
You better believe it.
Expectation for
You
that.
better
That's
believe
it
it.
for that.
But you sound not like the man when I became lieutenant governor that walked in my office downtown Christiansted and was giving my secretary a hard time. I had 8 people who had appointments to sit with me on different topics, and he said he needs to come in. So I said, well, wait, everybody else had made the appointment, but that's all right. I will still see you. Well, he made such a ruckus. I brought him in before I saw the complete group. And you know what he told me? I not only voted for you, I gave a donation to the administration, and I need to be answered and listened to right now. I said, well, so the other people outside, because your vote is only one vote, and their vote outside is only one vote, and I'm glad that you gave a donation because you helped to the cause. You put me here. But I can't treat you any different than I treat those who are outside waiting the same way to see me. How is that going to work? There's no preferences here. We're all equal. I tell you no, ain't got no great line. You're either deceased or you're alive. That's it.
Let me, because Clint asked a very valid question, and we kind of got sidetracked into poor customer service. Clint's question wasn't about poor customer service. His question was about how do we bring people who are making salaries from before Jesus born up to now current time so that they can survive. Because if we don't bring them, if we do not make them whole, then the only thing we're going to be doing is seeing a larger drain, because now we're increasing those people who have to go on to government aid like MAP, food stamp, and everything else just to survive. We are creating a larger, poorer, working poor population. So aside from poor customer service and all of that, how are you going to bring those employees who are way below the poverty line, how are you going to bring them up so they can afford to pay the $4.29 per gallon for gas, the 5 and change to go buy a loaf of bread, you understand, the $10 or whatnot to buy water? I mean, $50 don't even get you a decent bag of groceries these days. And they have to now go pay $50 to go buy the foolish bag of grocery, go pay WAPA if they can, you understand, and go pay everything else. So how are you going to bring these people up so that they can be made whole, so they don't have to choose between food, light, or whatnot?
If the legislature finds any monies that they feel they can actually raise the wages again, it can be done, but then the monies have to be consistent. And if the monies are not consistent, you can't raise people to a level that you can't really fund it. So it's a legislative question that you're asking, and not an executive question. So it has to be there, and legislature is the one that appropriates the monies. So let's see what they have. And individuals are run by unions. So again, the unions, as the question was asked earlier, the unions represent the mass of the people. The unions are to fight for their rights and make sure that everything is in place. But I cannot, in my honest judgment, give you something that I know I don't have.
Well, the law won't allow you.
Mr. James, very quickly,
Yes,
and a status situation. You are the president of the Constitution. As far as our status, U.S. Virgin Islands status, what's your position on that?
That's a good question.
You want us to take a break and
No,
come back
that's
and
a good
answer?
question. No. It's not. The reason why I paused because we need a constitution, and everybody says status.
Constitution before Constitution?
Yes, because we were working with a
Well, let
constitution.
me have you
Yeah.
answer that,
After-
because we got about 30
Oh,
seconds.
okay.
Let me answer that. We'll come back in a moment, and we'll answer the question when we get back in a moment. Welcome back, and I was going to say Governor James.
That sounds good. Sounds very good.
You were about to answer the status question, correct?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The question was asked to me whether or not we should have status first before having a constitution, and
That wasn't really a question. The question was about the status. What do you think our status should be?
okay, what I think our status should be,
Correct. You think
what
yes,
we are right now,
unincorporated?
unincorporated.
Okay.
But I want to go beyond that. I think we need a constitution. We need to put that in place. And a lot of individuals came when we had the mandate from the Senate to do the Fifth Constitutional Convention. They were actually throwing in, well, what our status should be. That was not within the mandate. And a lot of people get confused. And then, you have people here who just say things just to whitewash and just make people's mind go different ways because they're not focused. We need people to maintain a focus. We need people to understand if we come here to actually work on the Constitution, that's what we come to work on, and we need to produce a Constitution so that we can have something that will really and truly be adequate for the time that we're living in now, as opposed to the Organic Act of 1954.
Okay.
I thought you had a good document.
I thought we did.
I
We have an excellent
I
document.
thought the
We have an
document that the
excellent
state
document.
prepared was a good
We
document.
have not had. I think it's kind of
We have an
existing.
excellent
We
document,
haven't
yeah.
had it. But anyway, why? Why do you think our status should remain the same?
Well, just personality, I'm just comfortable with that. That's all.
Just personal
Yeah,
reasons?
yeah, I'm just comfortable with unincorporated. Yeah, just comfortable with that.
Even though we've been treated as second-class American citizens?
Well, people in Puerto Rico are being treated as second class.
Me
just as
concerning
well.
myself with
I
Puerto
know
Rico.
you ain't concerned, but I am saying people like Guam.
Me
are being
concerning
treated.
myself with under either. My concern is
But-
the Virgin Islands. So I want to know, even though people are battling for being treated as second-class U.S. citizens because of certain things that that are entitled, or not, I shouldn't say entitled, certain things that states of America receive, we don't receive. And a lot of people complain about that, about being second-class. So I want to know, why would you accept that? Why would
It's
you
not
want
really
to-
accepting it. We have a delegate to Congress that's supposed to be working towards those venues and making sure that exactly what you're stating, so we can
Same-
have full representation.
The delegate to Congress is limited because of the status.
Well,
So
let us
there's only so much a delegate
let
can
us have
do.
a constitution, and the delegate will be able to work and not be limited.
How? I don't understand that. How? If we have
Because
unincorporated,
within the Constitution, we will have everything in place according with what the delegates needs to do.
but isn't her needs title or status?
Yes.
Okay, so it
But
don't
it
matter
goes
what the
beyond that too.
Constitution
Okay,
is.
so then the same thing when we come back to when you knock me down, you say, well, I don't care about Guam.
I didn't
I don't
knock you
care
down.
about,
I didn't
no,
knock-
no,
I
no,
didn't
no,
knock
no,
you
no,
down.
but hold on, we're all in the same tub. Guam, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, we're all in the same tub.
Not necessarily.
So,
Tony,
Yes,
are we all in the same tub?
we are in the same tub only because of a Supreme Court decision, not because of any specific legislation. It's the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, in those insular cases that says that we are supposed to be treated differently because of our unincorporated status or the Commonwealth status or the fact that we're not states. Now, there is that Samoa case that's going through now
Right.
that is supposed to be far-reaching as to whether or not we are entitled, because the issue is, are we citizens or not? And we are recognized as natural birth citizens of this country, but only because of location is why we're treated insular.
Right.
And that's by Supreme Court case. That's not necessarily as a result of any law or the Constitution of the United States of America or anything. So if the Supreme Court in that case decides to overturn their insular cases, then we would get everything that everybody else gets, but would still be unincorporated.
wonderful. I like that. I like to have the attorney next to me so you can
If
clarify.
you think about it,
Yeah.
one of the first nominations for the judgeship,
Here it there.
the big man, right?
The big man right
I
here.
have
Let me
to make some money first.
let me tell you
I have to
something.
make some more money
Let me tell you
first.
something. Let me tell you. I
He's trying to be humble.
I admire this young man. And I looked at him not just now, I've been looking at him for the last 8 years. And look at his growth. And look at as I tell people, you need to have PDC. Okay?
I feel like it ain't school. Where's the PDC?
Yeah.
Wait.
You need to have patience, you need to have discipline and confidence. And he has showed me over the time that you have PDC.
PDC.
No.
Sir,
Okay.
Emile Henderson Esquire PDC.
Oh,
You can
Lord.
put that if you want. But really and truly, as I look around here today, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I know it's not the wrap-up time, but you see, that's when you're so bold, you make yourself the wrap-up time.
Oh, no, wait, hold on. Before you wrap up, let me ask one more question. As a small business person, right? I know I have it so difficult to get anything done anywhere. This is gonna be like a twofold question. Is there any way in which that we will make the process in actually getting a license for local people, me talking who coming down, but who is here, easier for them to get, to get into business? And secondly, my thing too, even though if we are looking at being more American, what about being more Caribbean and actually being able to work more with the other Caribbean islands? I'm unable to ship anywhere else because, the Caribbean don't even watch us as Caribbean people. They don't consider us to be Caribbean. So do you have any intention of trying to include us and make us be more Caribbean with our fellow brothers and sisters so that we can take part in a huge pie out there or not?
Yes, I do. One of the things that bother me is that Tatola is so close to us, and a lot of Centurions are actually Tatolians. And since 1999, when that memorandum of understanding was signed between Governor Turnbull and Delegate Christensen, giving all the submerged land back to the United States government, our fishermen has no real place to fish. And when they go in the Tatola water, the Tatola government not only apprehend them, but confiscate the boat. If they are our cousins, brothers, and sisters, we need to have a memorandum of understanding with Tatola so that we can go and fish in their waters as well as they can come and fish in our waters. That needs to be done. Another thing that needs to be done, Puerto Rico. In the 20s, Puerto Ricans came here from Culebra, Fajardo, and Vieques. They resided right here. They ran all of our grocery stores, appliances, and the likes. Today, as we sit here, we're fighting Puerto Rico for rum cover over. We lost Seaborn from the Virgin, lost 80 positions here. Puerto Rico gained 450 positions. Again, why can't we work together? That's our neighbor, our Hispanic neighbors. We need to have, again, a memorandum of understanding, a better working relationship with Puerto Rico. And I know it's different with Long Island. Now, I say that because we can't just extend our arm like that. The United States government can go and give them monies, but we cannot associate with them the way we would like to. But I want to have also, through Congress or the United States government, so that we can have a better working relationship, because we have people representing every island from Tatola go right down to Argentina. So we need to have better understanding, and what you're saying is true. As a small business person, and I love your products, and I'm not just saying so to be facetious, I think that you should be able to get some kind of help from the Small Business Administration to move forward and press on, because it's a viable product and we need to help you. Even the Government Development Bank is supposed to be helping you. And I know that entity has not done anything for you. I can tell you. Am I right? I'm right. I know I'm right.
Yeah, go out and buy Itiba products because she makes them and they're awesome, and I believe that her product should be in every hotel in our territory.
She has a soap.
As a local Virgin Island.
Yes,
She has a soap. I wash my hand down to the airport by Bulky. That lemon lime fragrance is so nice.
Get right, Carib Lime.
Okay, Carib lime fragrance is so good that it stays on my hand for at least 4 or 5 hours.
And it repels mosquitoes.
Yes.
And it's natural.
Okay.
No, it's all organic. What? Okay, am I working for you?
Yes.
And it's all organic.
Should be a male face.
I should, right?
Yes.
I'm cute enough. But you talked about the fishing. Okay. Nikki's telling me, okay.
Wrap up.
I can't ask this question, it'll take too long. So, we're going to give you an opportunity now to do your wrap up.
I want to thank.
Know exactly what's going on.
I'm Gerard James II. I'm a Democratic candidate for the gubernatorial election, the primary in August. I'm asking the people of Virgin Islands to give me an opportunity to come and do the right thing. I have always been there for the people. I'm very community active. I've helped people in many ways, and I'm here with a wonderful panel. And I'll be quite honest with you, they weren't easy with me tonight. They drill me, but there's one thing they can't take. I am straightforward. I am honest. My hands are clean. I don't believe in corruption. I believe in treating people fairly and treating them according to what they are. You have to respect people, and that's what I said. You need PDC, patience, discipline, and confidence. And if you work with me, it will be a better version of us, not only for us, but for our children and our children's children. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. James, thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, it really, I think we had a good spirited discussion tonight, and you answered the questions. You were free to accept all of the, the stuff thrown at you. And so, we're hoping that people will have an opportunity to really ask you more questions when they see you, and what that we couldn't get through in an hour.
But I mean, we also had a good spirited audience.
Oh, we did, yes.
And,
We did have a good spirited audience
even
tonight.
though many of them are supporters of
Mr. James.
Mr. James, we are glad to have them. They
Yes.
came and they asked the question,
Yes.
the candidate question of the year.
Yeah.
And we're going to encourage our other members to come and view our show when in the
And
every
ask
Tuesday.
some more questions.
Yeah.
As you know, we have our Rock Your Voice campaign here at RTD VI Voices, and as I said at the beginning of the show, part of it is to educate our community not only just on the issues, but on the people who are asking for your vote. And this election cycle is going to be a very important election cycle.
Correct.
And I know we say that all the time, that every election is critical. But I mean, after the last 8 years, this one is critical. Because this is going to determine whether we are going to be to some road of prosperity, or we're going to continue to be down a dismal spiral where we won't be able to catch ourselves. And I don't believe that we're hit rock bottom yet. I mean, we have more to go if we don't do the right thing come 2014. And so we're here to ensure that you understand the importance of this election, that you ask the pertinent questions, that you not vote based on popularity. You don't vote based on who you like, but you vote on the person who actually will do the job for you and who will be attentive to the issues, healthcare, crime, education, the economy. All of those things are important factors, but not enough to just list them as a platform, but for you to be able to question them as to what their plan is going to be for those things. Not just, anybody's going to say to you, my platform is those things. We want to know what your plans are going to be, and that's why we're doing this show, and that's why we're having people come onto the show to ask questions. And if you're successful in August, then you'll be back again as we go into the final stretch of the 2014 cycle. And so I thank you for being on the show with us tonight.
And thank you. I'll be asking for resumes at that time.
Okay. And so make sure your voices, thank you. Make sure that your voices are heard, because they do make a difference. Good night, everybody.